Hello, everyone. Good afternoon once again. And this is again your learning partner, teacher Anna. So now let's have our lesson. So in the past week, we have prepared for the first monthly exam. Now let's go to the first quarter. So today we are going to learn chapter number 5. So in the past few weeks we have learned about counseling. So today guys we are going to learn about social work. So sino sa inyo dito ang gustong maging social worker? So makinig mabuti. This is how you prepare to be a social worker. So let's go. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so at the end of the chapter, guys, you are expected to first discuss the nature and dynamics of social work. So dito mo malalaman kung ano bang nature and dynamics of social work. So ano ba talaga yung nature nila at ano ba talaga yung mga trabaho ng social work. And then we are also going to discuss the goals of social work and then identify the core values in social work. So every work or every job, guys, we have core values and ethics. So here we are going to talk about the core values in social work. So now let's go. Let's have the next one. So let's try to know ano pala yung social work. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word social work? So always remember guys that social work means different thing to different people. So iba-iba tayo ng perception for the social work or for a social worker. To the man on the street, social work can mean giving financial aid to poor individuals. To others, it can mean helping indigent patients gain access to public hospital. Coming to rescue of disaster victims or building the character of street children. And then furthermore, some people have impression that social workers are financially well off since they are expected to help those in need. Okay, so those who are enrolled in social work are likewise perceived to be rich because of this kind of expectation. So kasi si social workers, yun yung tumutulong. So most likely, anong inahuna-una na to or we perceive them as very rich. That's why they are helping others. So this chapter, guys, clarifies, okay? This chapter clarifies the nature of social work. So how is social work actually defined? Is it the same as social welfare? Is it the same with social security and social services? So what do social workers actually do? And what makes social work a distinct discipline? So here in the chapters, we are going to learn about civil society, clinical social work, coordination, gender development social work, gerontological social work, health social workers, indirect practice, and youth workers. So you may read the meaning of that words in your module. So let's try to know ano ba talaga ang social work. So always remember guys that social work is concerned with the social functioning of all people. Okay? So hindi lang to pang isang tao, sa lahat ng tao to. So this one is concerned with the social functioning of all people. The poor, the rich men, women, and the LGBT community, the able, those with disabilities, the young and the old. So they are what we call social work. And then we also have social functioning. So when we say social functioning, it defines as the client's ability to accomplish the activities necessary for daily living. So, ano ba itong mga social functions or social functioning? So, ito yung kakayanan ng ating clients. So, if you are a social worker, so those person na tinutulungan mo, ito yung magiging social functioning nila. So, meaning, the client's ability, so yung kakayanan nila to accomplish activities necessary for living or daily living. So, like for example, anong kakayanan ng client mo to obtain food, to obtain shelter, transportation, so to fulfill major rules as required by a particular subculture or community. So that is according to Carl Swandre and National Association of Social Workers. That is in 1988. So always remember that, guys, social worker also has its own clients. So, ano yung mga kakayanan ng ating clients? Those are social functioning. So, most likely, ang tinutulungan ng mga social workers are those persons na they really badly need the help of social worker. So, as a social worker, guys, you kanang dili lang kailangan na naa kay maluluyon nga kasing-kasing. You also need to have a practice of wisdom or practice wisdom. So, practice wisdom is a form of knowledge derived from the collective experience of several generations of social workers. So that's why if you want to be a social worker, you need to read a lot of books about the knowledge and several or collective experiences of several generations of social worker. So meaning, kung ano nangyari sa mga social workers sa una, na libro na siya. And then, ginastadihan na siya sa mga nagtuon o pagka-social worker. So that experiences will teach them something that they need to do in the future, or maybe something that will building their foundation about social work. Now we also have social welfare. So, unang-una, dapat alam mong ginagawa mo. So, that's why it has a practice wisdom. Next is the social welfare. So, ano ba ng social welfare? Is a broader concept that could encompasses social institutions and field of practice which do not relate to social work such as psychiatry, urban planning, and education. So, ito si social welfare, guys, broad siya na term, or it has a broader concept. So, that encompasses social institutions. So, kailangan natin yung mga social institutions and field of practice. So, broader term ito siya, pero hindi kasali si psychiatry, si urban planning, and si education. Okay, so which do not relate to social work such as psychiatry, urban planning, and education. So most likely, ito yung gusto ng mga social worker to have a very good social welfare. So we also have social work. So when we say social work, guys, it's more specific discipline with social welfare. So mas broader si social welfare and then mas specific si social work. Now, so ano ba talaga yung purpose ng social work, guys? So, 'di ba, kapag nakita natin na kanang maluluyon kayo, merciful kayo ang isa ka estudyante, and then ginahuna-huna jud niya ang kanang para sa uban aside from himself, like may kaingon jud ta nga kuan siya, maayo siya mahimong social worker. It is because kanang maluluyon siya, merciful, and ang iyang heart is very empathic. And then na siya kakayanan na i-unite ang mga tao. So, now let's go to the purpose of social work. So, ano ba talaga yung purpose ng social work? Like char-char lang ba? Para makita ka dira sa Facebook, sa Instagram, sa Twitter na maayo ka nga tao, famous ka nga tao, dato ka? Is that it? So, let's try to broaden and deepen it more. So, always remember, guys, that according to Adolf Hitler, the purpose of social work should not be to distribute favors. So, but to restore rights. So, pinanganak na tayo guys na wala tayong dalang pera, wala tayong dalang gold. So, all of us are born naked. So, so when you help guys or when you do the social work, you are not distributing favors, meaning hindi ka nagbibigay ng pabor sa ibang tao, but you are restoring their rights. Okay? So all of us has the right to education. All of us has the right to be fed, to have a comfortable life. So all of us are entitled to that right. But not all of us are given the chance to have that life. So that's why the very goal or the very purpose of social work is not to distribute favor. Gipaboran nimo siya mao nang ginhatagan nimo siya og makaon, ginhatagan nimo siya og masulot, ginhatagan nimo siya og balay. But no, that is to restore social rights or rights. Always remember, guys, that all of us has the capacity, has the ability, and has the right to an equal opportunity and a good life. Okay? Hindi lang isang tao ang pwede dapat magkaroon ng good life. All of us has the right to have a good life. So that is the very purpose of social work. So it also focuses on bringing about change in both individuals and their environment or social system. So, dapat hindi lang siya basta-basta change, but a good change para sa ating bawat isa. Okay? Para sa bawat isa, magkaroon ng magandang buhay, magandang environment, magandang social system. So thus some social workers aim to help people better cope with the demands of their circumstances and environment. So dapat yung mga social worker, ang aim dapat nila is matulungan yung iba't ibang klaseng tao na makayanan nila yung mga certain circumstances and environment or yung mga kinakailangan talaga para mag-survive. So just like if there is a typhoon, so paano mo matutulungan ang mga tao na maka-cough up from typhoon? Just like the COVID-19. Paano mo matutulungan ang mga tao na maka-cough up with COVID-19? So while others aim to change the environment for people have fewer personal and social problems, yung iba gusto nila i-change yung environment para lang sa kanaganing para sa ilang pabor, para mas madato pa sila, or para sa ilang mga personal problems and para sa ilang social problems. But always remember, guys, if you are going to conduct change for like in the society and in the environment, so always remember that it must be benefited by a lot of people. So, however, social workers do not only devote their efforts to existing problems. So, ang problema, ang social worker guys, it's a very, lisod nga trabaho. Kaya ang ilahang effort, dili lang para sa mga naga-exist nga problema. So, they are also striving to prevent future problems from developing. So, kailangan po nila nga mahatagan og solusyon ang mga future problems na moabutay. So, that is also the job of a social worker. So, that is very important to para magawa ng paraan yung mga existing problem natin ngayon at para ma-prevent ang mga problema na darating in the future. Now, let's go to the next one. So, always remember guys, no man is an island. So, hindi natin kaya kung isang tao lang ang maningkamot na mulambo ang ng komunidad, mulambo ang environment. But we need to have different helping hands and head para matutukan at magkaroon tayo ng magandang buhay, magandang environment, and a good social system. So that's why, according to Sheffer, Hareji, and Hareji, 1994, kasi magkapatid to si Hawerji and Hawerji 1, Hawerji 2. So, social workers aim to achieve the following. So, we have 10 goals for a social worker. So, ano ba talaga ang gusto marating ng ating mga social worker? Or if you want to be a social worker or something, ano bang gusto marating ng isang social worker? First is to enhance the solving problem and coping capacities of people. So, hindi lang bigyan ng isda yung mga tao. They need also to know how to fish. Okay? So, hindi lang bigyan ng pera. Kailangan malaman din nila kung paano ba magka-income, paano ba magka-pera. So, just like that. So, we, as a social worker, we are trying to help them and build their capacities. Next is to prevent the development of serious personal and social problems. Okay? Para din ma-prevent, so hindi na mangyari yung mga serious personal and social problems. Okay? Just like suicide, pagkasira ng pamilya, pagkalulong sa droga. So those are the serious personal and social problems. So para maiwasan natin yun din yung isang goal ng isang social worker. Next is to restore and maintain the social functioning of people. So always remember guys, bawal mag-tinapulan. All of us has a social function. Natay kanya-kanyang responsibilidad, natay kanya-kanyang himuunon sa society. So as a student, you need to learn a lot to help the society. As a teacher, you need to teach the kids or the children to become a very good future and a very good asset in the community and in a bigger scope than national. So next is link people with systems and resources that can provide support, services, and opportunities. So, isa ding bridge si social worker. So, from the very less fortunate na mga tao, tinutulungan nila ito so that they can provide support, they can give good services and opportunities. So that's why social workers really also aim na makakuan sila, maka-amigo, maka-bridge, kanang maka-bridge from a very poor family to a very rich family nga makahatag og opportunity sa ila. Like for example, uh, a group of carpenters nawalan sila og trabaho because of bagyo. So si social worker karon kay because he want to give opportunities to those people. So, nilaha siyang ipaila-ila sa mga kuan, tagiya sa mga construction supply, tagiya sa mga engineer, kanang naga-construct so that they will have work or job. Okay? That is also the job of a social worker. So you need to link people. Next is to promote the creation and development of humane and effective social policies and human services programs. So, anong ibig ko sabihin nito? So, always remember guys, you need to promote the development or the creation of human. Diba? Isa to sa mga gusto talaga ma-attain nating bansa, yung pagka makatao. So, they need to have or to develop social policies. So, dapat ka ng mga policies nga makatabang sa komunidad, human services program na makatabang sa mga tao nga na dito. Like for example, duol sa dagat ang nga lugar, pero di sila kabalo mangisda. So what will you do? So as a social worker, you can conduct a program and teaching those people how to fish. Just like that. Next is plan, develop, and administer programs and projects with social agencies. So just like Porpeace guys, so na buhat na siya or na-create na siyang Porpeace nga program, it is because they have planned that, they have developed that because of the very bad poverty rate or increasing poverty rate of the Philippines. So that's why the social worker, guys, ginatabangan niya to know the poverty rate o katong mga taong mga walang-wala jud to be helped by the government or to the people nga kanang more fortunate. So that's why they come up with programs and projects nga makatabang ani nga mga tao. So always remember, guys, social worker is not bound to make money but to become a bridge to help the community and the people to have a good life. Next goal is to promote the effective and human operation and administration of social work, organization, and human services delivery system. So this is also very important, guys, kasi gusto natin magkaroon ng magandang buhay yung ating mga tao or yung individuality. So that's why we need to promote. So si social worker, kinanglan po nila mag-promote o effective and human operation at administration of social work organization. So that's why dapat maayo pagkapamalakad ang DSWD with different social workers. It is because kung maayo pagkapamalakad ang kana siya nga administration or kana siya nga organization, so mas daghan pa silang matabangan. Okay? So they can give more human services to the society they belong to. So next goal is to protect the community from people who consistently harm others. So as you hear also kanang pantay bata, kanang ginakulata ang mga anak. So to protect the children, so kinanglan po na sa social worker. Isa po na siya sa goal sa social worker. Now, all of us have a very good life. Ug kanang walay mga tao nga nagapasakit sa ato, ang nagapangulata sa ato. Okay? So that's why na-invento ang Bantay Bata 163. Na-invento ang Home for the Aged. Or the program was being created like the TSWD. It is because we aim to protect our people. Next is the goal is to develop and teach the knowledge and skills needed to accomplish these purposes. So that's why there are also social worker who are also a teacher of those person or of those students na gusto ding maging social worker in the future. So those social worker slash teacher, they need to teach the knowledge and skills, okay, to get their goals or to get the objectives of their programs, projects, and activities. So that is the 10 goals of social workers. Now, let's go to the next one. So let's learn about Hepworth and Larson categorize and the general functions of social work into 3 types. Okay, para hindi ko pala nakita yung scope of social work. Okay. So in the previous guys, we also learned about the scope of social work. So yung scope of social work, guys, is also very broad. So kaya kanina nakita ninyo yung kanina nakita ninyo yung mga tao nagtutulungan, like they held hands each other. It is because the scope of social work, guys, is very broad. And then as a social worker, you cannot work alone. So you need to build linkages. So social workers themselves may find it difficult to answer the questions, what do we do? So, coming up with a simple answer is further complicated by the fact that social work primarily serves society, its clients. Okay? So, yung nasa society, mo to ang ilahang mga clients. All of us are their clients. May either be individuals, so maybe it is an individuals or it's a social systems such as families, groups, organizations, and community. So hindi natin kaya pag isa lang. If we are uh, we are just one, we cannot do it. But if we are united, we can do it. So ano pala yung guys? Yung Hefford and Larson. So it looks like they have categorized ano social work in three types. So they have categorized social work in three types. We have the prevention, restoration, and remediation. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word prevention? Okay, di ba sinasabi natin prevention is better than cure because it is really important. Like uh when we say prevention, it refers to the timely intervention of the social worker. So, hindi lang malala, nakatabang isa ka social worker nga maprevent ang isa ka butang. So, before serious problems emerge, prevention involves the provision of financial assistance, as well as services and facilities such as marriage, counseling, and well-baby clinics. So, as you can hear, guys, when you say social worker, um, they also need to help prevent something. Like, for example, if may parating na bagyo, yung mga social worker, yung mga pumupunta sa mga bahay-bahay. Okay, guys, kailangan natin magtungo sa safe na area. Iwan muna natin ang ating bahay because merong coming na bagyo. So that is also for prevention. So there are also social worker na kanang provide na silang financial assistance before something worse has happened. They are also counseling, kanang ginataga nila og kanang pagmaymay and integrated counseling sa mga mag incoming nga magminyuay. So sa day ang ilang sudlon, just like that. So that is for prevention. Now, for number 2, we have restoration. So, di ba, ang restoration is like, kung naay bagyo, kanang na mga nadadaot ng mga buildings, eskwelahan, mga puno. So, ang restoration, tumaglimpyo mo, yung i-restore ang tama nga posisyon or like, dagway anang nga lugar. So that's why restoration involves the rehabilitation of clients. So it is not just limited with typhoons, it is also under with the clients. Like itong mga victims of bullying, victims of kanang pananakit ng kanilang parents. So they need to be restored, not just physically, but mentally. Okay? So in social worker, guys, it is the restoration is not just limited with what you can see by the eyes, but it also the repair or impairment of the physical or mental issues. Now, let's go to remediation. So when we say remediation, it involves the elimination of existing problems such as drug addiction or substance abuse. To perform this function, social workers engage in casework, group work, community organization, social research, and social action. So when we say remediation, guys, it involves the elimination of existing problems. So wala na ninyo ang existing problem. So, i-remedy. So, meaning, yung sakit ang tiyan, painom mo ng tambal para mawala ang sakit sa tiyan. So, that is a remediation. But here, it is more differ in the social work because they are going to help those persons that is drug addict or substance addict. So they need to help that kanang kinanglan nila na pangita pamaagi in step-by-step way para maayo siya sa iyahang pagka drug addict. Okay? So, to perform these functions, so para ma-perform na siya ng mga functions sa social work, so they need to engage in case work. So that's why there are also a lot of research from the social workers. Kasi kinanglan nila case work, they need to have group work, so hindi nila kaya na mag-isa lang. They need the community and like the doctors, the legal advisors, like the lawyers. So kinahanglan nila ang kanang mga tao nga motabang sa ilaha. Then the community organization, just like the government, the social research, and the social action. So in remediation, guys, dili pwede nga ikaw lang magbut-but ni siya, masolusyonan na to nito, pinaagi ani, just like your plan and just your perception, dili. So you need to consult specialist para maagapan ang problema. So that is for remediation. Now, let's go to the next one. Now let's go to the direct services or direct interventions. So for example, for a victim of a child abuse, this is the social worker and this is a victim or a child abuse victim. Okay? So in here, the social worker meets face to face. So yung social worker, ginastorya o ginamit ang ato ang client face to face. As in a counseling relationship, parehas sa counseling relationship. But this one is different. But this one is between a social worker and maybe a child abuse victim or a runaway youth. So direct practice may take form or may take the form of clinical social work. For example, padringon nila para may balaan nila kung nabay ano ang bata, naba siya depression, naba siya suicidal tendencies, lampadulaon. So, and then by that, they need to observe it carefully so that they will know how will they deal with the traumatic experiences of the child. So now let's go to the next one. So next is the clinical social work. So as you can see here in the picture, so we have different clinical social workers. So maybe there are black, there are some lesbians, there are some gays, there are men's and women's that is very good in clinical social work. So ano ba talaga tong clinical social work, guys? So it involves applying principles and techniques in addressing psychosocial problems, including mental and emotional disorders. So sila yung mga pinakamagagaling na merong mga prinsipyo, merong mga techniques kung paano masolusyonan ang mga psychosocial problems. Paano masolusyonan ang mental and emotional disorders. So they are the clinical social workers. So clinical social work, guys, it aims to improve the interaction among people. So para improve siya ang interaction among people. And then manage life support mechanisms. So we also have deal with conflicts. So paano masasolusyonan yung conflicts? It also addresses the needs of individuals. So just like for example, for couples, for families, and groups. So lahi nga mga tao, they also have different needs. Okay? So most social workers in private practice engage in clinical social work. So according to the National Association of Social Workers, so mostly daw sa mga clinical social worker, guys, is na sila ilahang sariling private practice. So kung makita ninyo sa mga salida, like for example, kanang isa ka client, nga mo sa usa ka clinical social worker, and then kanang magpatabang siya. So na siya, na sila ka ng pamaagi. Like for example, kailangan lang ba nimo og pahuway? Kailangan lang ba nimo og something, support mechanism? So, They have a step-by-step process. They have their techniques to solve those problems. Now, we also have the direct or indirect practice. Okay, so let's have the indirect practice. So when we say indirect practice, so dili siya direct, no? So here, the social workers acts on behalf of a group to address a specific problem. So ang ginabuhat sa indirect practice, guys, is yung social worker parang front row or front face lang siya ba, pero lahi dito ang ni support. Like for example, a social worker may write to funding agency and request financial support for the construction of facility for runaway youth. So pwede siya siya ang nag-initiate o maghimo og letter para maanuhan, masuportaan ang kani siya nga project or sa mga facilities sa runaway youth. So that is indirect practice. So meron ding mga magagaling talaga niyan na mga social worker. Now let's go to the next one. Now let's go to micro level practice. So ano ba na tong mga micro level practice? So this one is focuses on interaction at the most intimate level. So dito na yung mga intimate level such as between husband and wife, parent and children, and among family members. So they are the micro level practice. So makita ninyo merong mga ano, social worker na pumupunta sa mga bahay ng mga sobrang mahihirap na mga pamilya at saka yung mga pamilyang kanang nawala na ang mama o papa. So, they are what we call in the micro level practice. Now, let's go to the macro. Yeah, the bigger scope. Macro level practice. So when we say macro level practice, it may involve work with an organization, community, or even society. So this one is bigger na siya ang scope. Kay maybe it is an organization. You are employed in an organization as a social worker, or you are employed in that community to help and to serve the people as a social worker, or even in the society. Now, that is for the bigger scope, macro level practice. Now let's go to meso level practice. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word meso? Yung cheese ba? Queso? So when we say meso level practice, it deals with interpersonal relations that are somewhat less intimate than the family, but more personally meaningful than institutional and organizational level relationships. So example ito, guys, or example of this include relationships among individuals in a self-help or therapy group. So kung makikita ninyo, guys, meron sa YouTube niyan, or meron din sa mga teleserye, mga Korean drama, na like for example, a group of people nga kana namatayan og anak. So as para matulungan nila yung bawat isa, they come into a place and then that is initiated by those social worker para matulungan sila. Ka-cope up sila sa kanilang mga problema and sa kanilang mga hinanakit. So that is for the meso level practice. So they include relationship among individuals in a self-help or therapy group, the peers at school or work, and then neighbors. So that is for meso level. Okay? So ito siya, mas personal pa siya kaysa sa mga institutional o organizational level nga appeal sa micro and macro. So dito, kahit hindi kayo pamilya or even when you are family, ginaturing ninyo ang bawat isa as a family. So you treat each other as a brother or sister or a mother or a father. So just like the peers at school, kanang ginaturing nimo nga mga igsuon nimo, imong mga amiga, and then your neighbors, just like that. So those are the meso level. So more pa sa pamilya inyong tinanawan because you help each other to cope up with your problems. That is also for the meso level. Now let's go to the values in social work. So always remember guys that in any jobs, there should be a values na dapat na to ginatuuhan. So just like in teachers, we have the educational philosophy, the educational values, just like that. Here also in social work, you will also have values. So what is values? All of us really know and understand that values refer to strongly held beliefs about people. So ito yung tinuturing natin na nasa mga tao talaga. The preferred goals and the means of achieving them. And desired conditions of life. So those are your values. So like other professions, guys, social work observes core values which are found in its code of ethics. So meron ding code of ethics is social work. Okay? Or as a social worker. So first is, mawala siya. But actually, guys, the first one, it should be service. Okay? Service. SERVICE. So, ano tong service? The service is that social workers are expected to provide assistance to people and respond to social issues. Social workers are also encouraged to serve without expecting to be paid high fees. So this is also referred to as pro bono service. So, libre na, no? So just like a volunteer. So a social worker, kanang ginasunduan sila pero gamay lang, tama-tama lang. Because they kanang national passion to help, to provide assistance to people, and then to respond to social issues. Next is the social justice. So, kung kani siya no, madungog dyan mo siya sa social media. Kinanglan mo social justice. So, ano ba talaga yung social justice? So, here in social worker, guys, they really aim to create changes in society to address the plight of the vulnerable and the oppressed. So, see, social justice, guys, and social worker yun, they really want to change or to reconstruct the society. Kasi ang problema sa society manggod yung mahihirap, lalong humihirap, yung mayayaman, lalong yung mayaman. So, dapat lahat daw, pantay-pantay, lahat magkakaroon ng equal opportunities to be someone who is great. That is for the social justice. And even for the mga vulnerable ka ng mga nasa mga pobre kayo ba, di porket pobre, di porket wala pinag-aralan, pwede na nimo siya daog-daogon. Pwede nimo siya kanang pasakitan. So that is a really bad habit and value. Next, for the social worker is integrity. So this is very important in being a social worker, guys. It is because when we say integrity, it demonstrates trustworthiness, truthfulness, and responsibility. So, ginapakita na diri sa social worker nga dapat kasaligan siya o nagastura siya o tinuod o responsable siya nga pagka-tao. That is for integrity. Okay, what happened? So, importance of human relationship. So, it should be relationship, guys. So, sa social worker din guys, dapat magkaroon talaga tayo ng magandang relasyon sa iba't ibang tao. So, social workers know that large-scale changes in communities can only take place when people trust one another. So, may mga importante ang human relationship guys kung nag-trust daw ta sa matag usa sa atua. Okay? So it is very important guys to kanang trust each other. So pero na yung mga tao no nga dili kasaligan. So even though kasi yung mga tao nga dili kasaligan guys, they still have something to learn kung sila gyapon ang mag-suffer ana. So next is we have the dignity and worth of the person. So itong mga dignidad. So as a social worker, guys, you need to treat everyone with concern. So dapat concern ka sa tanan, dili lang sa mga pipila ka mga tao. Kani sila kay doon sa tundugkan kay mga igagaw na to ni. So it is not like that. So when you become a social worker, everyone is your brother, everyone is your sister. They are. You need to be concerned to them and you need to be respectful to them. Next is competence. So the last one, guys, is competence. This is very important in a social worker. So nga naman, ma'am, nga, ikot na lang gani ka mutabang, kailangan lang yapon kag skills, kailangan lang yapon competent ka. So it is also very important, guys, kasi every one of us should constantly develop our skills and knowledge. So dapat ato na siyang i-develop permanente kay maybe what we have learned in the past may now does not exist in the future. Okay? So para sa unang panahon ginatudluan sila nga kanang ano or ang solusyon lang sa kahirapan sa una ay sa tagan o pagkaon ng mga tao, tagag kwarta mga tao, anana. But no, now you need to teach them how to make money or how to fish para ma-develop ang ilahang skills, ma-develop ang ilahang kakayanan na dili lang magsalig sa ubang tao. So that's why that is very important as a social worker. You need to be competent because as I said a while ago, maybe what you have learned in the past may not be applicable in the future. Okay? So I hope you have learned a lot from our lesson today or yeah, this afternoon, guys. So thank you so much for listening for our lesson. Okay, that would be all, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to review your lessons and always remember to do your best for your assessments. And always remember to make your parents proud. Have a great day, guys, and see you in your assessments. Bye.